Good. So hello everyone, thanks for coming. My name is Martin Perez. I'm a PhD student, but I also work on the EVoC project. So this year I've mentored two EVoCs. One of them was successful, the other one just failed, unfortunately. So I would like to talk about the EVoC and what we should do to improve on the student selection and how to prepare the student better for the EVoC. So first of all, I'll just introduce the EVoC for all of you because, of course, not everyone is involved in this, so you may not know what is going on. So what is the EVoC? So it stands for the XORG Endless Vacation of Code. It's the equivalent of Google's Summer of Code. It was introduced, I may be wrong, but I think it's in 2011. So it was meant to fund students willing to work on XORG during the year. It doesn't matter if the student is not available during the summer, he can work any time a year. It's funded by the XORG Foundation, and it's a complement to the GSOC, since Google may not fund XORG projects anymore. So basically, when a student, what is the outline of the program? First, a mentor proposes a project, then students apply to it, or may apply to it, then the mentor needs to select the student and the mentor write kind of together the proposal. The more the student work the proposal, the better. And the board of directors check the proposal and vote for funding. So an EVoC project should be about 3 months long. The project can start any time of year, as I said. And students receive 3 payments of, it should be higher than $1,500 at the beginning of each month. I'm not sure if it has been really enforced this year, but yeah, it would be great if we agreed on that. So what are the current problems that I saw about the EVoC was, well, the students start working right after applying. I think it has been this for everyone. It's not really a problem when the student is already known from the community and is already involved in it, but it may be a problem for newcomers. And then the rules and the objectives are not clearly defined, and that's what I would like to talk today and get something that is clear and understandable by everyone. So it's going to be a discussion, and that's what I want. So feel free to interrupt. I mean, the presentation is very short otherwise, so please. So first we need to agree on the objectives. From our discussions, we kind of agreed it was to get more contributors to the XORG project, of course. And also it was to get more work done. Do you think there would be something more to the EVoCs that should be objectives of the EVoCs?
We also hope the students learn something too.
Oh yeah, yeah. Of course, from the when we want to get newcomers, it's for them to learn, and or maybe already known students should learn about some more parts of the XORG foundation, not foundation, but the whole project. Yeah, so learning is a key point.
And we've also used it sort of as a tool for publicity with the larger community. I mean, people find out that X is supporting this, and it's definitely goodwill from a lot of players. You know, Google's been very excited that we've been doing it, and people who had thought maybe not thought about XORG in a long time are starting to see it because they see these students being picked up.
Okay, so it's like an advertisement tool. Yeah, it's one good objective. So could someone write this down? Well, it's in the presentation.
But depending on your definition of getting work done, I think it's also important to give a test bed, just test new ideas, implement new things, and what might be interesting in the future. Not just getting the work done which is already planned, but having new ideas from new students. And
Yeah, so like a research project. Yeah, it's definitely a good idea. Because wasting maybe time from the star developers maybe not a good idea. Well, yeah, I agree. Any more suggestions for the objectives?
So if it was a research project, would it be the student needs to come up with something, or like there's an existing list of ideas that some of the current developers are curious about, they don't have time to run down, or any of the above?
Well, yeah, I think
if someone steps forward and has a good idea, which didn't show up before, why not? And if you have a list of topics which you would like to see, test, investigated, but you don't have the time, put a list on the web page and say if you're interested in whatever.
Yeah, for both GSOC and EVoC, we have had, here's a list of ideas that developers who know this stuff come up with, but we also allow, once you've got something interesting, propose it, maybe we'll say yes.
I will hand out the microphone so that we have your good suggestions on the recording.
Well, maybe something related to performance. I mean, it's very time consuming to look for bottlenecks. So this is something that newcomers could do under the supervision of someone, a mentor, obviously. So yeah, it could be a good idea. I mean, some people may think that one part is a bottleneck, but in the end it wasn't. And if it takes 3 months to figure this out, well, it would be a waste of time for some people. Okay. Any other suggestions? Or should we talk about the student selection? Okay, so let's move to the student selection and entry tests. So, for this year's EVoC, the selection and entry tests were all done by the mentor. It was up to him to select, well, to choose his students. So I think it should be important to have like a common rule to help both the mentor know what should be asked for the students and for the student to know if they are capable of doing the EVoC or not. So it's good to have self-assessment for the students. So this is why I would like to write a test, a C test, a GCC test, and Git skills. So it could be like a small project that should take about an hour or two to someone that is already well, trained or that knows how to use this stuff. And otherwise, it could be a good starting point for students to know what they should learn before applying for the EVoC. So again, it's not to waste time of anyone. When we were discussing, one thing that was really important seemed to be that students should be already known for involving in the open source community. So either by having at least one patch submitted before applying for the EVoC, or just being in one community and show that the student is not here for the money, is here because he wants to learn and wants to participate in this project, which is this project is maybe one of the most difficult one to get into because it's very difficult to learn everything up front, and you cannot do anything unless you've learned about most of the bricks of the project. So one of the thing that is really important for students is bit manipulation. It has been a big problem for some people, so this is something we should really emphasize on because it's, well, I think every project in the every EVoC project is using bit manipulation, so it should be very important to have a test for that. And yeah, as I said before, students should be able to write the whole proposal themselves. So what I mean by that is the way I did it was telling the directions of the project to the students. Then I asked them to write about it to show what they understood, and then I fixed it in order to have some clear guidelines for the whole project. In the end, well, something that I thought were understood by the students wasn't understood at the time, so it took them some time to understand what was why I did fix some parts. So it should be good if the student could write everything and use the proposal as a check of the student's understanding of the project. Again, question, do you have any more suggestions on how you should prepare students? Okay, so Suprit was one of my students. Oh yeah, wait for the mic. Yeah, it works.
So,
No, no, it doesn't work.
This is part of the test where you talk.
Hello. Yeah. So I feel basically if there are a couple of ideas on the wiki, each idea or project proposal should have a list of things that the student should know. So rather than straight away giving the student a couple of tests to pass, he should know what he should prepare and then probably go through a series of tests or whatever. So rather than having him submit a patch, he should probably learn all the things listed for that specific idea, because every other idea would have different needs. So basically have each idea a specific set of requirements and then probably make him pass a CE, GCC or basic test. But that's probably later on. First the student should know what are the requirements for each idea, and then he can probably write his own proposal.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. And the tests were actually there just to for the student to self-assess.
Yeah.
So as the mentor doesn't have to test every student, if like 20 students are are willing to do the project, the mentor shouldn't create 20 tests.
No, yes, that's definitely there. I'm saying this is before the student gets in touch with the mentor. He should know what the idea actually requires, because basically right now we just have a couple of ideas listed on the wiki. We don't really have the requirements for each idea listed on the wiki. So for each idea you need to get in touch with the mentor and ask him what are the requirements. I feel that this should be on the wiki in the first place.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bart?
So one of the things that have sort of driven, so we actually did set this program up a long time ago, 2009, something like that.
Okay, so I was
But, well, not so wrong, right? Because we didn't get any students for a long time. And one of the interesting, questions that you have is, to some extent, the more that you filter and the more that you advertise that you're explicitly filtering up front, the less maybe people you have who feel like they're ready to start, which is a little unfortunate in a program that until this year really has had very few students who applied, much less completed. So the way it was originally conceived, and I think so far the way it's worked mostly, is that the student and the mentor would, the mentor would have a chance before the proposal, as you said, before the proposal was brought to the board, to evaluate the student. I think we could provide tools to help the mentor with that, but I guess I feel like if the mentor doesn't already have a pretty strong relationship with the student by the time the proposal is brought to the board, there's probably a problem anyway. And honestly, what the board is judging on is mostly our trust of the mentor, not of the student. And that's a big responsibility to put on the mentor, but on the other hand, all we in the board give is money, right? That's not such a valuable resource. The mentor gives their time. And so to some extent, it's you who's going to suffer, right, as a mentor if if you get it wrong, right? And so I would look at it less as sort of what formal process we can put in place, because I think formal processes are intimidating and a pain in the neck. And for the size of scale we have so far are not needed. I think it's more what tools can we put together that will help a mentor figure out in a particular case what's going on. I mean, things like a bit manipulation test or a development, how to use GCC test, I think would be tremendous things to have lying around. That doesn't mean that every mentor would want to use them with every student.
Right.
I mean, if you look, and the person obviously knows, or obviously doesn't, then there's no point in giving them a test. But
of course.
But I would encourage less process in some ways rather than more, because I think what we want to do is not give people the idea that you already have to know how to develop an X before you can do this.
My point was not to create a formal process, but more to, well, have a general guideline for the students and the mentors if they want to submit a project. It was the first time I submitted a project, so, well, for me it was something new. And, well, I would definitely have read this kind of presentation because, well, yeah, that's the reason why I wrote it. I wanted that, and I kind of missed it. So this is why I'm here, and yeah, speaking about this. So I just want to provide guidelines, but of course it shouldn't be fixed. As said, the tests shouldn't be mandatory for every student. It depends, of course, on the project. But this is something that I feel should be quite general, and we could have a test for everyone. That should, yeah, everyone should be able to pass this test if you want to involve in the XORG community.
So Martin, part of this is, I guess I should stand up, huh? So part of it is, as far as mentors go, we actually had a proposal 2 months ago, and the guy was really interested, the student was really interested in working with us, but we couldn't find a mentor. So part of this is, a lot of responsibility does fall on the mentor, but we don't have that many mentors to begin with, so I guess part of this test is to weed out the students who really are just looking for a quick buck, but not weed out the ones that are a little intimidated or whatever, but still do want to contribute. So we got to find that balance between the two.
Yeah.
That I don't know how to do, but we can't put all the weight on the mentors because there's not that many of us to begin with.
Yeah, it was very time consuming for me. I liked it, but I mean, I can understand if you have a daily job. I do. Fortunately, it was in the summer, so most of the university was, well, asleep, so I could work with a student. But yeah, it was really time consuming, so it's good to have to take more time actually to work on the project. Like, this is something I was going to propose. Well, a bit. Where is it? Okay. It will be to give more time for the preparation, like having a formal preparation time that is mandatory, like 3 months, for instance, just like the Google GSOC. So what would happen would be the student and the mentor get to know each other for 3 months before submitting the, well, or at least 2 months before submitting the proposal, so as the student has the time to install everything, check that he's actually up to the task, he has time to learn and understand what is really going on, and then we can submit to the board and start the project. But it should be good to have a mandatory preparation time, because otherwise students and mentors can get overconfident, and it doesn't help for the whole project, I guess.
How much of the current EVoC students, how many guys were prepared beforehand? How much prep work did you guys do before? 1 month? All right, Jess?
Yeah, mine is an extension of a 2-term project that I worked on in class.
Okay, so you definitely fall into the prep work, the
Yes.
3 month. Okay, but Blas, yours was less than 3 months though, as far as spin up.
It wasn't really connected to any part of X. I needed to know OpenCL and Piglet was very big.
Sorry.
It wasn't that big involvement in X. I needed to know a little bit of OpenCL and the Piglet framework. And the Piglet framework isn't that big, so 1 month I think it was enough.
Well, in my case, I think we had about three weeks to 1 month of preparation. It wasn't enough because the students were working, they had university work, they had exams, it was the end of the year, so it's not the best time to prepare. So it's good to spread that a little more than just 1 month. 1 month was clearly not enough. Not for us.
I feel instead of having a mandatory 2 months, it should be a mix of, like I suggested, we should have a list of things that are required for each project. So before the student gets in touch with the mentor, he knows what he's going to, what are the requirements. So after that, I feel 1 month should be more than enough because the student already knows what are the requirements for each project. And if we add like 2 months are mandatory, it becomes a sort of a 5-month thing for the student to invest his time in, which would actually push back the students from actually applying to the project. So this basically is supposed to be a sort of a GSOC complementary, so it's supposed to be over the summer, but if we put like 5 months on each project, so it doesn't really fit into a summer.
Well, the Google Summer of Code has the 3 months mandatory.
No, it doesn't.
Well, kind of.
Oh.
Since I'm probably the one who's read Google Summer of Code as much as anybody over the past 10 years, it's worth, since Google Summer of Code keeps coming up, it's worth saying a little bit about that program and how it's the same and how it's different from EVoC, I think. The Google Summer of Code, as it's currently constituted, and it's changed several times, of course, over the 7 or 8 years it's been running, is a 3-month, very strict schedule summer thing. There is an application period after which ends currently in March, I believe, after which there's about a 3-month community bonding period for the accepted applicants, not for the applicants who are still applying. So that's a big difference. EVoC always was intended not to be just another Google Summer of Code. Google does that program very well, and we didn't need to do it again. And one of the key differences was that we explicitly were trying not to be on a summer-only schedule. In fact, since summer occurs in different places for different students, that's always been a problem for Google. But aside from that, we're perfectly comfortable with students, doing their work during a light quarter of their, normal school year or whatever it is that they're going to do. We've always been sort of agnostic about when the students start. I think that, for most of the projects we've accepted, not all, the start date for EVoC, the start date has been actually in the future from when we approved the proposal. And that's been, because the board got to it before the student was ready to start. So I think there's a lot of flexibility there that GSOC doesn't have. Remember, a lot of the rules of GSOC are there because they're dealing with 200 organizations and many thousands of students, right? They can't be flexible because they'll go under. It's a very small staff doing all this also. So, and the other thing to keep in mind is that one of the goals we didn't get up here, because I'm not sure it's appropriate, that GSOC definitely has, is to provide students with a job who otherwise would be, in their words, flipping burgers over the summer, right? To really, make sure that people stay engaged in open source and open tech rather than having to work a day job that's miserable and has miserable wages. That's a thing for us, probably, but I think we're more targeted at people who are naturally, who are not just looking for a project to do to get paid, but are specifically interested in getting involved with X, right? And so hopefully the students will do some more upfront rather than, after the proposal's accepted. And so there's a lot of slop there, I think, but that's the situation with GSOC as I understand it. And I've run a GSOC organization since there's been a GSOC. So.
Thank you for the insight.
Why doesn't Google support our GSOC projects? This last year, it's an interesting question, actually. This last year, GSOC, Google actually denied the applications of a number of projects that had been around for a very long time in the Google Summer of Code. I I can't speak for Google. The official reasons that they gave us had to do with the quality of our ideas page, and sort of they felt, their explicit statement was that they felt that we hadn't put enough effort into planning for GSoC. I, can't say anything beyond their official statement.
Yeah, I think we should really have some reasonable judgment in how long this preparation period should be. If we get to the point that we have clearly defined requirements for each project and we just basically can check if the student needs all this preparation time. So if you have a project working on graphics drivers and low-level stuff and you have the requirements saying, oh, do you feel confident in doing things to the bit? And the student just says, yes, I think you don't need all this 3 months period or something. So there should really be some reasonable judgment. The mentor and the student agrees on what is needed. But yeah, that basically implies you have to apply for EVoC a reasonable amount of time before. So you can't just go, oh, next month I'm going in my summer and I want to work on something. So we have to set an applying period way before starting to work, so you can work out if the student needs all this time to prepare himself or if he just can cut it down.
Well, yeah, but if you want to work on the EVoC, I mean, you kind of have to prepare in advance because if you are not accepted to the EVoC, you still need to find another job. So, I mean, 1 month is a bit short to find another job. So, I mean, usually when you want to work on during the summer or another vacation, well, you need to prepare in advance. It should be kind of the same here. I don't mandate for students to work during these 2 months. Just prepare and know where they are going. They have time to read some stuff, like, I don't know, maybe 1 hour a week to learn some stuff, and then maybe do some tests. And if the tests fail, he has the time to, well, improve before going to the EVoC. So I agree, for instance, with the acceptance before this period. Like we accept the student, so he knows that he will have a job during the summer, and he can start preparing himself for the EVoC. So I think, yeah. But if the student is already comfortable with everything, then perfect. He doesn't have to prepare, but it just knows that he's going to work in 2 months. So is it really a problem? It has to be flexible, of course, but I mean, it should be like a general guideline, more than just a fixed requirement. Oh, yeah, there is someone behind that has been willing to talk for a long time. Wait for the mic, please. Where's the mic?
Yeah, hello. I'm a student and I also participated in GSoC once, and today it's the first time I heard about EVoC. What kind of software projects are supported by EVoC? Is it just the X server, or is it another project, other software projects from the free desktop ecosystem like Mesa or something?
Yeah, so Mesa, everything in the kernel everything that is related to drawing things on the screen, could be even input, should be eligible for the EVoC. Okay?
Basically, anything in the graphics stack.
Yeah, I mean, stack, we've certainly had at least, I think, client-side project around XCB stuff. We've had at least one project of the current projects is GPU computing, right? It isn't even necessarily so much directly related to the graphics stack at all. I think our inclination has been to go broad. I mean, I don't I think we're pretty inclusive. If the project is directly a GTK or a QT project, I think we might encourage them to seek funding through, you know, some other free desktop or some other freedesktop.org organization rather than through us. You know, this has always been one of the issues with X, I think, is, you know, where do we draw some of these boundaries? But problem, and I don't think it will be, because I think we're going to be pretty inclusive.
Yeah. Okay, so just to finish, because we're running late. Oh, Egbert? Sorry. Oh.
So I think the purpose of this is because we really do want students in EVoC. We very, very much want it, and we take it seriously. But it is, let's be honest, when you get a student, it's a drain on the mentor. It takes time from the mentor. So it takes away from what he's normally doing, which is very much worth the time. But the purpose of this discussion, I think, is to make sure that the student realizes when you do this, it's being taken seriously. The possible mentors are looking through it. They're putting their time and their energy into this. And so this is kind of to say, if you're serious about it, we're all about working with you. We want to help you. We want more students. But if this is just a way you can make some easy money and you're not interested, don't waste the mentor's time, because they could be helping someone who really does want to do the work or doing real work. So I think that's kind of the purpose of this conversation, right? If you're serious, we're all about helping with you, all about helping you and working with you. If you're not serious, please don't waste the mentor's time. It's kind of a precious resource. My 2 cents.
So just to finish, one of the guideline is that a student shouldn't be receiving a wage or anything that is related to, well, that could be close to a wage. So we talked before about, well, maybe limiting the number of EVoCs for a given student, like 2 EVoCs, and then it should be good. Or just to limit the number of EVoCs per year. So this is something that we'll take into account if some student apply several times, but I don't think we will agree on anything right now. I mean, it really depends on the student and the project. And as for student receiving monies, just money upfront, it has been a problem with one of my students that actually didn't do work, but I'm not sure if he got the money because we were late, but Ashwin. Anyway, well, we don't want people to get paid upfront if they haven't proved that they are really interested in doing it, more than just writing the proposal. So it's what is important about the community bounding. It's getting to know each other a bit more before receiving the first payment. And if it could be on time, it would be great. Yep. So that's it.
If you would like to continue, we've got a coffee break now, so you can
well, I'm done.
talk into the coffee break.
But yeah. Then okay, thank you very much.